We are 2.5 seasons into Bridgerton, 3.5 if you count the prequel series. And in a show as sweeping as romantic as Bridgerton is, it might be hard for some to single out one moment that stands above the rest as the most romantic. But for me personally, it was an absolute no-brainer. And it comes from the second season. For those not familiar, the second season is based on the Julia Quinn book, The Viscount Who Loved Me, and it follows oldest brother, Anthony Bridgerton, as he swears he's marrying for convenience. And all of that goes out the window when he meets Kate Sharma, who is a firecracker of a human being, but whose younger sister seems to be the more appropriate choice for the wife of a viscount. Obviously, enemies to lovers style tension ensues. In the second season, as in the book, Anthony initially sets his sights on Edwina rather than Kate and decides that she is going to make the perfect viscountess. The show follows this relationship for far longer than it should, lasting an episode and a half where perhaps an episode would have sufficed for them to get engaged, realize it's not going to work, and wrap it up. I admit that changes need to be made for the sake of adaptation, but this change in particular was extremely frustrating. Around the halfway point of the book, The Viscount Who Loved Me, Anthony and Kate are caught in a compromising position and forced to marry, but unlike Daphne and Simon, who were caught in a similar situation, these two can't actually stand each other, which makes their eventual growing to understand one another and eventually love one another while healing through their trauma made for a much stronger narrative. The problem with the second season drawing out the love triangle between Anthony, Kate, and Edwina was that it made Edwina, who is supposed to be a supportive, albeit naive sister, out to be extremely insufferable. She's out only for herself. She doesn't understand when others are doing things for her benefit, and when things don't go exactly her way, she turns into one of the brattiest characters ever on the show. Because of this, a lot of focus is pulled away from Kate and Anthony developing their relationship and instead is given over to both of them trying to make Edwina feel better because Edwina couldn't read the signs that maybe this man she has decided all of a sudden she's in love with, even though he said he had no intention of falling in love with her, isn't actually in love with her. Because the show spent so much time keeping these two apart for the sake of somebody else, it had a lot of legwork to do to make their final declaration of love feel truly earned. And this small moment between Anthony and Kate right at the end truly does achieve that. So the moment comes near the end of the final episode, where Anthony heads to a secluded corner of the gardens in search of Kate, the woman he loves, to tell her exactly how he feels for her and to ask her once again to marry him. Kate reciprocates his feelings, though adds with a laugh that not a day will go by where Anthony won't vex her, a joke back to their earlier animosity. And then it happens. Anthony looks at her, a smile both on his face and in his eyes, and simply asks, "Is that a promise, Kathani Sharma?" That moment, that look, that line is, to me, the single most romantic thing the show has ever done. Allow me to explain. I've never had the easiest time with my name. Growing up in Canada, where most of the people I interacted with were primarily English-speaking, my name always posed a problem, despite literally being pronounced the way it's spelled. Arezou. Meeting new people always meant repeating my name more than once, and even then it was a toss-up whether or not they'd mangle it anyway. Marzin, Azu, and Leslie come to mind. Having substitute teachers in elementary school meant just calling out present when they paused too long during attendance, rather than trying to teach grown-up how to say my name properly. And then, of course, there came the questions as I got older. Did I have another name I could be called by? What was my Canadian name? I'd be lying if I said it wasn't tempting to anglicize my name when I was a teenager, if only there were an easy way to do it. I wished for a middle name. I wished my parents had named me something easier. I would sometimes wonder what would happen if I just legally changed it when I turned 18. Cut to me getting older, and my foolish, romantic heart wondered what would happen if I ever were to have a potential meet-cute with someone. Our eyes meet, hearts race. We introduce ourselves. Him giving me his name and me slowly sounding mine out, only for him to mangle it and for the moment to pass into nothingness. Silly? Maybe. But a lifetime of hearing my name utterly destroyed by others, Azusa, Mizzou, RG, meant it certainly wasn't a baseless thought. Names hold power. We can change them all we want to suit the comfort of others. I have lost count of how many times I told the barista my name was Allison. And that story is unfortunately all too common for those of us whose names do not suit the primary language of the place we call home. Which brings me back to Kate Sharma. Objectively, I understand what happened here. The character in the novel was named Catherine Sheffield, which naturally got shortened to Kate. In casting Simone Ashley and in changing the character's background to Indian, changing her name to Kate Sharma made perfect sense to me, particularly when we find out early in the season that she was born in England. Of course her parents would give her an English name. It's only at the last minute that the audience learns Kate is an anglicized nickname for her full name, Kathani. I myself am Iranian, not Indian. I cannot speak to how common a first name Kathani is, or to its meaning for a character like Kate. All I can speak to is what it meant to me, because the only person in the series to ever speak this name is Anthony, the man who loves her. After a whole season of Kate anticipating the needs of everyone around her and trying to understand every facet of everyone else at the expense of herself, here comes someone who now understands every facet of her, who embraces the part of her deemed unpalatable to the rest of society because it isn't easy and convenient, and who does so with so much love in his eyes it was all I could do not to cry. He sees her, every part of her, for who she is, and loves the parts of herself she has deemed an inconvenience. Anthony's not interested in how Kate will suit others. He's merely interested in how they will suit each other. This goes beyond her name, of course, as there are many things about Kate that do not fit a narrow definition of what society deems acceptable. But in using her full name without her knowing, Anthony is showing her, and the audience by extension, that none of that matters, and that he truly does love everything she is. He tells her, in those few simple words, that although she will, he hopes, be marrying into the English aristocracy, that he intends to still love and honor her heritage and every part of her that makes her who she is. I have over the years come to accept and even love so many things about myself, my first name included. I can't imagine any other name suiting me quite as well as my own does, which is why to me, there's nothing in this world quite as achingly romantic as a partner who might one day take the time to learn how to say it properly without trying to change it or mangle it repeatedly because he isn't listening. Someone for whom everything that makes me who I am is of equal importance and deserving of attention. I'd be lying if I said Bridgerton Season 2 didn't frustrate. For all the things I wish Bridgerton had done differently in the second season, this small moment representing a true understanding between two characters is not one of them. They got this part exactly right, with 6 simple words that knocked my world right off its axis.